So one question a lot of fans have ever since the Owl House came to an end this past week or so, this past month, is why was the third season aired the way it was? Was this intentional? Was this the plan the entire time? Well, I can tell you from experience, not from watching the show, I haven't done that yet, but from experience watching animation my entire life. I can tell you honestly that this final season was meant to go a little differently. That yes, these mini-movies you were going to get originally. You were going to get these mini-movies originally, but as 6 episodes. That's right, 6 episodes. And what I mean by that is I believe the original plan for the third and final season of the Owl House, the original plan, in my opinion, was to air all 6 episodes as their own individual episodes, but as parts. In other words, you get the season 3 premiere as part 1, and then the following episode is part 2. And then you follow that up with the next episode, which could be part 1 of the next arc, and then part 2. And then, of course, the finale, Waking and Dreaming, part 1 and 2. I think, honestly, that was the original plan all along, in my opinion. That was the original plan. Now, could I be wrong? Probably. But when you really think about it, and you look at how long each of the mini-movies are, they're comprising of what? An hour length, if you will? About 44 minutes or so, 45 to 50 minutes worth. That basically, to me, is the equivalent of 2 individual episodes comprised together as a mini-movie. That's what it reminds me of. And I think, again, the original plan, in my opinion, was for season 3 to be 6 episodes individually. Now, that still might happen in the reruns and all that, but I think the original plan was to go that route, like every week for 6 weeks straight, or every other week, if you will, every other week in those 6 episodes, they would air a new episode. Like one week, they would air part 1 of the season 3 premiere, and then 2 weeks later, they'd air part 2, and then so on and so forth. So I believe and think, in my opinion, and this is mere speculation, that originally season 3 was supposed to comprise not of 3 mini-movies, but of 6 individual episodes that would be comprised of 2-part arcs. The season 3 premiere as 1 and 2, the middle part, episodes 3 and 4 as parts 1 and 2, and then the finale, episodes 5 and 6 as part 1 and 2. I think that was the original plan. That's just my opinion, though. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Now, with that said, the obvious other question I should say that fans have is, why was this season cut so short? Why was season 3 cut so short? Why didn't we get more episodes than just the 3 mini-movies, which is actually 6 episodes individually? Why was it cut so short? Well, I think there might be a reason. Now, what I'm about to say is out of due respect. No offense. But I think what happened is that the Owl House, when it came to season 2, from what I've read and understood, the Owl House got a lot of backlash for certain things. One thing was pretty much a lot of the parental groups, some members of the woke groups, whatever, council culture, SJWs, some members of those individual groups complained that the Owl House, along with the parental groups, complained and criticized the Owl House for teaching kids about witchcraft, which Disney would come out and justifiably, in their own right, come out and justifiably say, no, that's not true. We're not doing that with this series. And obviously Disney has a right to say that because a lot of those shows are basically meant, no matter how you view them, to entertain the family, kids and adults of all ages. The other thing that I think kind of hurt them from having a longer final season, that being the third season, I think what hurt them, as well during the second season was that it was the anticipated Luz and Anthony, the anticipated Luz and Anthony, not Anthony, but Luz, hold on. Sorry, I'm almost gotten tongue-tied there. But the anticipated Luz and Anthony kiss. I mean, everybody knew. Anybody that's followed the series more so than I have, knew that Anthony and Luz were going to end up together. From the very first moment they met, they knew they were going to be destined for each other. And when the moment came in season 2 that they kissed, yeah, everybody was happy about it. Video clips here on YouTube and across any other uploading site got thousands, if not millions, of views based off that clip. But despite the positive reception in viewership numbers to it, you had the backlash of parental groups and certain members of the certain, organizations that I mentioned getting on Disney for letting that happen. Why? Because here you were basically representing two, I'm assuming 14 to 15-year-old girls kissing each other on the lips and basically declaring each other as an item. When that episode happened in season 2, it was still pretty much taboo for even minors, whether they're fictional or not, to be depicted in that way. And that moment right there, despite the positive reception by fans and the LGBTQ community and all that for the representation, that got a lot of freaking backlash. It got a lot of backlash to the point that Disney once again, just like people accusing them of teaching witchcraft with this series, Disney once again had to come out and say, no, there's nothing wrong here. You guys are not looking at it, from a character development standpoint or an evolution standpoint. We're not doing nothing wrong. But despite Disney coming out and saying those kind of things, just like they did with the other accusation of the witchcraft stuff, even though Disney still went and did that, to kind of justify their actions and reasoning, these people of the parental groups, these people of religious groups, these people of the SJW woke and council culture groups, they would not hear it. They would not hear it. So what did Disney do, knowing that, well, we want to maintain that Luz and Anthony relationship in our final season, and we want to basically showcase Luz as the witch that she's the good witch that she's meant and destined to be. What do? And I think I think it was around that time, and again, this is mere speculation on my part, guys, mere speculation. I think it was around that time Disney had to talk to the creator of the Owl House and unfortunately tell her that instead of probably having a regularly established long season like they had with the previous 2 seasons, that they were going to have to cut back. They were going to have to cut back and do it in a way to where they can get the stories told, as well as basically get them out there as quickly as possible before any backlash headed their way. And that's why I think season 3 came about the way it did. Now, some people might say, well, some people might say and ask, well, couldn't they just allow them to have maybe, the regular amount of episodes they've had previously, and still divide it into little mini movies here and there? Couldn't they have done that? Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, they could have done that. I'm not denying it. I'm not saying that they couldn't have done that. I believe they could have. But here's the reason, though, I think they went in the direction they did with the third season. Here's why I think they did that. This is just my opinion. Again, they knew it was going to be the final season. So instead of dragging it out and probably, I wouldn't say suffering, but basically getting a lot of backlash for any potential controversial scenes and moments they had planned, throughout what would have been a regular, sized episodic season, just like the previous two, they decided to cut back and say, hey, we're just going to do these, we're going to make them into mini-movies, and then we'll divide them into 6-part individual episodes that air, on their own instead of as a mini-movie to get it out of the way. And I think they did this because, again, they didn't want a chance, pretty much, getting all these parental groups and all these people that pretty much would criticize them about things that are not, that are not necessary to be criticized about. They would they wanted to try to avoid that. That's what they wanted to try to do. They wanted to try to avoid that and do it the best way they could. Now, as far as them deciding to go the 6-episode route, that's not uncommon. It really isn't. That is not uncommon. Because even if the 6 episodes that were comprised into a mini-movie now, as a result for the final season instead of individually, if the 6 episodes was the originally intended length of episodes they were allowed for the final season, it's nothing new. Because we have seen other shows in their final season, or what would have been originally planned to be, I should say, or what would be originally planned to be the final seasons. We have seen series go with shorter episode lengths, because they knew or believed at the time that the season was going to be the last season. They knew that, or that's what they heard. A good example is My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Lauren Faust has gone on record, and I think even Megan McCarthy has gone on record in saying that the original idea was My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic was only going to do 3 seasons, and that was it. But because of its popularity, of course, we all know what happened. It went beyond 3 seasons and went on to have 9 seasons. Which is incredible for an animated television series, originally aimed for kids, but garnering the pop culture audience and fan base that it did. But yeah, originally season 3 was supposed to be it, which is why season 3 only had 13 episodes. But after basically season 2 proved that the fan base was, went well beyond, the intended audience, and it was just growing at a rapid pace, they decided, okay, we're going to, that being Hasbro, decided, okay, we got something good here, let's continue it. And that's what happened for 6 more seasons. But the reason, like I said, season 3 is looked at as the shortest is because they thought originally that was going to be the last season, and that was it. They were going to close up shop. Which is why when you look at the Owl House, and everything, and the way it's presented with its final season, whether the mini-movies were the original idea or not, which would comprise, like I said, of the final 6 episodes, or if they were going to go a 6-episode route, but then decided to go the mini-movie route to get it out there as quickly as possible, to basically avoid, to avoid, I guess you could say, occurring some wrath and all that from, from the critics and all that for whatever decisions they came up with, It's not uncommon for the Owl House to have done this because of the fact that other shows have done it before. It's not uncommon. And it's smart for them to do that because that way they get the story out there as quickly as possible. They tell what they need to tell. They show what they want to show, controversial or not, and then they move on. And there's nothing any of the groups, council cultures, SJWs, wokes, religious, parental, there's nothing they can really say, because pretty much you're getting everything out there as quickly as possible within a quick time frame, if you will, and you're basically justifying what you did with Luz and Anthe in season 2 by time skipping the final moments of the final episode, and basically showing that, yeah, now they're of age, it's legal for them to be together. And to me, this is just all mere speculation. It's ramblish speculation, I'll admit that, because I know you're thinking, man, what sense is he making here? The sense I'm trying to make is I'm just looking at possible theories and speculations as to why season 3, in the eyes of a lot of folks, was cut short. Why it was not given the same amount of episode length that the previous 2 seasons were given. And again, I think it goes back to a lot of the backlash that the show got, throughout season 1 and mostly season 2, with some of the things I've mentioned. And I also think it's the fact that they wanted to avoid any of that happening again by shortening the season and even trying to get it out as quickly as they could by going the mini movie route and basically merging together the 2 parts, if you will, of the individual episodes, like 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 4 and 5, into mini movies to get them out there as quickly as possible. But I also think that they did come to the decision that, hey, this is the final season. We don't want to, we don't want to incur, the wrath or the criticism anymore. Let's just do 6 episodes and be done with it. Let's just focus on what we want to talk about and be done with it. And that's what they did. And again, it's not uncommon, to do that because of the fact that whether it's popular or not, you don't want to basically suffer any criticism or ruin any chance, like the creator pretty much has hinted at, of trying to revisit this world and its characters in the near future. You don't want to risk losing that opportunity, in my opinion. But with that said, again, like I said, this is just speculation and a theory on my part, being someone that watched animation for most of his life. It's just speculation and theory from my part as a person looking on from the outside, just giving their thoughts on why I feel the Owl House was given the short leash for season 3, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, and until next time, I am out.